6:01, I'd like to call the meeting to order. Our first item is our Pledge of Allegiance. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mr. Vice Chair, could you read our mission statement?
The mission of the Marshall Public School District is to educate, support, and prepare all learners for success.
Thank you. Moving on to our agenda. Motion to approve, do we have a second?
Second.
Any additions? Hearing none, please vote. It is approved. Moving on to our Tiger Spotlight.
I'm going to ask Dion if he wants to introduce some gentlemen and talk a little bit about the communications that he's had regarding a very generous donation.
Yeah, I'd like to welcome Sinister Brothers. Not sure what the official, your guys' official name? Sinister Brothers. Oh, got it right. Awesome. Travis Erickson had reached out that they had raised some money and wanted to donate it to the school to help with some outstanding food service balances for some families in need. So the board accepts the donation, but we thought it was important to have them here to accept the donation and thank them, hand out a Tiger Spotlight.
Excellent. We have a certificate for you. You guys want to come up?
Please.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
You bet.
Thank you. Thank you. And who wants to accept this?
I'll take it.
All right, there we go.
You want the check? You need the check then?
Thank you.
All right, I'm gonna take a couple of them.
This is front page now, okay?
Kind of scooch over where you are, so it's a little more centered.
You bet. Thank you for the
Yeah.
nice gesture.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I think it is important to note, too, that these monies will go a long ways. We do have a number of families that, for just different circumstances, struggle to pay their meals, and we try to do all that we can for them, but these dollars will go a long ways, and those kids and families will greatly appreciate it. So thank you very, very much on behalf of our families and students. Thank you, guys.
You bet. Public forum, is there anybody in the audience that'd like to approach the board? Now is your time. Moving on to our presentation, Truth in Taxation.
Good evening. So each year, we put in a truth in taxation information presentation. It's required by law that the public meeting happens between November 24th and December 30th, and that the meeting takes place after 6:00 p.m. It could be part of, as it is tonight, part of our regular scheduled meeting. And obviously, we allow public to comment if they are present. Part of the presentation, the agenda during this is we're going to go over the current year budget, will show prior year actual revenue and expenditures compared to this year's original budget. We'll go over the tax levy percentage increase and then go over specific reasons for the increases or decreases. So the basic education formula, we show this each year, and it doesn't seem to, the gap doesn't seem to be closing much, but the legislature approved the 2% increase for fiscal year 2020 and 2021, which we appreciate that each year, but doesn't coincide with the inflation increase. So this year, the 2% was $126 per pupil. And to keep up with inflation, we would have needed it to be actually 9.7% increase. Just to give you a visual what that looks like over the past few years, so you can see the gap just keeps the same each year. Again, we appreciate the 2%, but and appreciate you guys advocating each year to the legislature to at least get that 2%. But more is needed if we're going to keep up with the inflation. The levy cycle, I like to show this one because it gets a little confusing. So we're just going to look at the red lines. Second row shows the levy. That's what we're working on right now. It starts in July through December. We submit our numbers to MDE, and I'll show you coming up what all takes place, how the levy gets put together. But between September and October, some adjustments are done by MDE and the county. And then in December, we get the final numbers presented to the board for approval. The next row down shows you the budgeting for next year. We'll start working on that in January and then present that in May or June to the board for hopefully approval. And then going up to the first row shows you what school year we're actually doing the work for, and that's July of 2020 through June of 2021. And then the last row, July of 2020 through June of 2021, because that's when we're actually receiving the revenue from the levy we're going over tonight. And then the last row shows the audit, which we just went through from July to November. We work on the audit, and then it's presented to the board. And that cycle continues each year. So the different funds that we'll be talking about tonight, our district will be going over the 6 funds: the general fund, which is Fund 1, food service, which is Fund 2, transportation, Fund 3, community service, Fund 4, capital outlay, Fund 5, debt service, Fund 7. We think it's important to show the fund numbers to those because sometimes when we're showing you information, we don't actually show what the fund is, but the fund number, so you can match those up. So what we'll be talking about on the next few slides is a comparison of the 18-19 actual, now that the audit is done, to the 19-20 original budget. And just want to stress that's the original budget that the board approved back in July. We're working on the revised budget. Hopefully we'll have that together by the end of December, beginning of January. So comparison of our revenues from 18-19 to 19-20. You can see an increase in the general fund. That's mainly due to the 2% increase along with our enrollment, slight enrollment increase from last year. Food service has an increase also, and I'll talk about that on the expenditure side. Last year's revenue and expenditures were both down due to the number of snow days we had where we didn't actually have meals served. And then capital outlay and debt service, you'll see those two are kind of flip-flopping a little bit. Decrease in capital revenue, that's because of our roof project, the LTFM bond. We took the LTFM revenue and it actually went to debt service. So you'll see an increase there, and obviously with the referendum passing, you'll see an increase in the debt service in revenue that we received. This is just a pie graph showing you the outline of the different funds where the revenue comes in. And obviously, general funds is where a majority of our expenditures and revenue. You see 74% of that comes to our general fund. Comparison of last year to this year for revenue sources. I don't think there was any movement in the percentages. State was 82%. And you can see the other slices are pretty small. Only 9% of our income comes from property tax, and 3% comes from federal sources. Expenditure side. Again, I talked about the food service. You see that almost a 6% increase. That's due to last year's actual being lower again because of the less meals product actually served. And then capital outlay, again, is lower because we took those LTFM expenditures out of the capital, and they're now in debt service for the payment of the principal and interest for the LTFM bond, and then also the interest payment and principal for our referendum bond. And again, this is just showing the pie graph of the different funds. 74% revenue, 74% expenditures, so that matches up nicely. A little bigger breakdown of the expenditures. This is by program. You can see that the regular instruction is the majority of the pie. That's our teachers. It's our biggest one. It's our education. And then special education is the second one at 19.19%. Given a breakdown from the object codes, this is a nice one to look at because obviously each year we talk about this. Education's our business, and our teachers, our staff, paras, custodial, everybody is, it's our salaries and benefits. That's the majority of our expenditures, which is actually a little over 85% of our expenditures. If you have any questions, you can just jump in. This is our budget publication. This again is showing the actual of fiscal year 19 after our audit was done to the budgeted fiscal year 20 comparison. This is posted in the paper on our website for the public to see each year. So our tax impact, this is the final numbers for our levy, and I don't believe they changed September when you guys approved the maximum. We'll go down through each one a little bit to show the changes. For each one, but you can see general is decreased 12%, community services decreased 1.59%. General obligation, that's our referendum, is 41%. And then the OPEB service, debt service, is actually zeroed out. That, and I'll just kind of show you here too, so 0%. That is, we levied the payments for our OPEB debt service, and last year was the last payment for that. So you'll see that go away. So that helped that portion of the property tax. You can see a majority of it is 56% is our general debt service, where 42% is our general. So just a little background on the property tax. It's nice to go through each year. Every owner is given the a taxable property tax payment statement to give the breakdown of what their property taxes are. The next slide will actually show you the 7 steps that it takes to get from the start to where we are today with the final numbers. I'll just kind of go over this just a little bit, just so you can kind of see we don't have a lot of input when it comes to the levy. I mean, we have our enrollment and our we went out to vote on our referendum, but a lot of it is decided at the city and the county assessor when they estimate the market value of the property. Then after that, the county auditor calculates the tax for each parcel or property. Then legislature sets the formula which determines school district levy limits. Step 5 is where MDE calculates detailed levy limits for each school district. Then the school board adopts the proposed levy in September, which you guys did, the maximum. And then today we hold the levy taxation, truth of taxation presentation. So that's where we get. So some of the factors that go into the increase or decrease of the levy, it's important to know that change in market values is one that drives it, state legislature. Increase and decrease in enrollment, voter-approved referendums, which we were fortunate for to receive, and then school board actions. Just threw out an example of a property tax statement. Up on top, it shows the taxable market value. That increase drives some of the increase in the different categories. I also pointed out under proposed tax where it shows the school building bond credit. If this was ag land, there'd be a number in there showing the credit. And then I just separated the bottoming different colors to kind of show county, city, and school. Not sure, but some of the calls I get, I think they think the school is the only one that is taxing property tax, and it's not. There's county and city taxes involved too. So just an overview of the proposed levy for 2020. It'll be increasing $664,390 or $937.87, or 9.84%. This total of the proposed levy, the individual increases will vary. That is our levy increase. Property owners' increases will vary from case to case. So by law, we are required to go over each to show why there's an increase or a decrease. So for the general fund, we're seeing a decrease of $419,990.98. A majority of that, $411,000, is that LTFM. LTFM is in our general fund, and by doing the bonds, that's taken out of our general fund and put into our debt service. So a majority of that's LTFM. We also saw a decrease in our operating capital of $8,239. A lot of that is offset by a state aid, so we're not losing that money. It's just shifted from levy to state aid. And then there were just some different smaller increases and decreases to make up that difference. Community services increased $371.28. The adjustment that I found, that it's a minor adjustment, but the early childhood adjustment of $396 was the only increase or the adjustment that I saw. And then debt service is the one that increased $1.2 million. Again, the increase of $1,225,980 under our debt service aid category. $1,217,580 was due to the referendum that passed. That's our premium and interest for fiscal year 21. $263,920 under our long-term facility. That was, majority of that was the interest and principal and interest payments for our LTFM bonds that shifted from general fund to debt service. And then we did see a decrease of $265,728 that was due to the debt excess. We had withheld or held over debt excess this year to help with the interest payment, the first interest payment for the bond, referendum bond. So that money goes back to the levy the following year. Just going to cover the first paragraph on the ag credit. I think it's important to note the ag credit is going from 40% to 50% in 2020, and is scheduled to scale up to 70% in 2023. It is permanent law, and it was enacted back in 2017. Just to show how that affects our district. And the numbers that I received was from the county commissioner, or the Lyon County auditor. Total savings to Marshall Public School District in 2019 was $304,736.36. So that's awesome. And then the proposed savings for next year, due to the increase from 40 to 50%, plus I believe with the added amount that's in the debt service, will go from the $304,000 to $519,000 in savings for the school district, the ag landowners in the school district. Again, the property tax statement, it's a separate line item for people to see what that bond credit is for each person. So just to kind of give with that credit of $519,654 for next year, because that's not actually in our levy, that credit isn't included in the levy. If that wasn't included in the levy, it would go from a 9% to a 2.1% increase, which is reality, and going down to a $145,000 increase. I wish they would put that in the levy somewhere to actually show that, but so we separate that out to give an idea to the public that it's a lot lower once that ag credit comes out. So what I'm asking tonight is just to show you this, and then the December 16th meeting, we'll ask for the board's approval or recommend the approval of certifying the levy. Total of $7,419,106.42. And this just gives an outline of how we got here. From September approval to mid-November tax statements going out to tonight, and then the 16th recommendation to certify the levy. So, any questions at all?
I think the piece that you brought up with the ag credit, if that weren't there, we'd be at 2.1% for levy. So the break for our farmers in our district really is tremendous in terms of savings for them.
It's huge, and it's only going to go up.
It does impact our levy.
Yep. All right, thank you.
Thank you. Moving on to our board forum. Board members, anybody have something they'd like to bring up?
The Bond Oversight Committee has continued to meet with the planning. We hope to have, I think, a presentation here yet in December of ongoing plans, so keep an eye out for that. But that's continuing to ramp up with all the plans coming forward.
Children's Collaborative met last week and made decision on, we had $82,000 worth of requests. We funded $40,200. One of the requests from Marshall Public Schools from Kari Ellers for our EL population for about $2,500 was funded. That's for families, a movie, and also time together to explain programs and so forth. So the collaborative funded that piece.
Very good.
Sarah and I will be attending the Minnesota School Board Association Delegate Assembly this weekend, Friday and Saturday. Kind of looking forward to that. It'll be a first-time experience for both of us, I think, so it'll be very interesting.
Thank you. Moving on to our discussion items. This is second reading of policy 507 through 513. Did anybody have any questions? This is the second reading. Moving on to our discussion item of the school board calendar review. Okay.
December 16th, there is a school board performance oversight, finance, and continuous improvement committee meeting at 4:30 and I'm working on some others, but haven't finalized those yet, so.
Moving on to our action items, approval of our 2019-2020 school board goals. Do we have a motion?
So move.
I'll second.
Discussion.
Hopefully, the memorandum and additional information that's included is relatively clear. This conversation or the outcome of this memorandum is the outcome of a discussion at the school board committee level and just talking about what the school board might be able to do that aligns well with the two district goals from our strategic plan. And I think there's some good stuff in here and some good interactions that you'll be able to have and gather some good information. And hopefully that will, really what it's all about though is just continuing to build those professional relationships with our staff members as we continue to try to retain excellent staff. So I'd answer any questions that you have. Otherwise, you have the recommendation.
Any questions?
I like the way you spelled out the action for us as board members to complete in each of the schools.
Super. Thanks, Bill.
Very good. We'll vote, please. It is approved. The meeting's over. Thank you.